Yeah, I'm up here in the Campbell Lead Knob area, and as I was coming up the mountain, I ran into a couple Pittman Center firefighters, and they say they estimate about 100 cabins in this area are completely destroyed. And you can see one of those cabins just right behind me here with really not much left except for the walls around it. Now, I talked to a couple people up here who say the reasons they built their cabins up here is for this incredible view. You can see the view to the left there. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see Mount LeConte in the distance. Now the view is still there, but unfortunately a lot of these cabins are not. Now the really bizarre thing that we found up here is that while a lot of the cabins have been absolutely destroyed, there are some few places that just weren't touched at all. You can see that this truck right here, the only damage done to the truck, just this front bumper, just the fire that maybe reached up to the front and then just didn't go any further. A couple cabins over here completely burned down as well. That really is the story for much of this mountain, where you find a lot of burned down cabins and then you turn to the direction maybe just 50 feet or 100 feet away and you find a cabin that is completely intact still. So really a testament to the randomness of the wind and the storms that were blowing through here and taking those embers and shifting them from one place to the next. Now, I did speak with a family who came up here. I was up here with them as they saw their burned down cabin for the very first time. They went into detail talking about the memories they had made in this cabin and what it really meant to lose it. We'll have much more with them coming up later today starting at 4 o'clock. But for right now, I'm Kelsey Lair, Local 8 News.
Yeah, incredible to see the difference. A lot of new information we are hearing at this time.
Yeah, we just got out of the press conference right now that they had. The main part that they're trying to get across is that they are still in the recovery stage, still looking for a lot of the bodies. Of course, this has been very distressing for a lot of the firefighters out there, for a lot of the rescuers who are going home to home, trying to figure out who is still missing and if they found any bodies. They said that they have 74 people that have been treated so far at local hospitals. Mayor Waters said that they are asking anyone who has called the TBI and reported someone missing, if you have found that loved one, please call them back and let them know. But they said they had 100 phone calls for people who are missing their loved ones.
And something else, we saw rain last night, which was a huge blessing, kind of a heavy downfall throughout the day. But something that the chief mentioned is don't let the rain we saw last night give us a false sense of security. And what he's saying is that because of the drought we're in, we really need the rain to penetrate through the ground far enough to get rid of the fire that's actually starting in the roots of some of these plants. And so we saw some wind speeds pick up last night, which is actually drying out the ground pretty quickly. And we're starting to see some of those fires rehash themselves. Yeah. And so really some of these firefighters are out there right now just trying to stop some of these fires that are restarting back up. Right. And the tough thing is, I talked to a few firefighters this morning who had mentioned it was still really tough out there working last night. And they told me they need two things in this situation. They need more rain and they need a miracle. And we're not going to be seeing rain until the weekend. Right. So we're just looking at some kind of miracle and them working hard out there.
Yeah, and we asked them, are the fires out? And they said, no, they're not completely out. There are still hot spots. There are still 2 fires on the east end of town that actually sparked back up. I do want to give you a percentage, though, of the fires that have been put out. They've separated the county into 4 different zones, and the homes that they have gone through in those zones are 80 to 90% searched. So that kind of gives you an idea. Yesterday, we said they had only been able to search 30% of the homes. Now they're saying 80 to 90% of all 4 zones, the homes have been searched. But again, these are 3- and 4-story homes, and they've been reduced to rubble and ashes, so they're trying to go through that as best as they can. But they said it would take an extreme forensic inspection to actually find some of the remains if they were there.
Lauren, I can't even imagine seeing these 4-story cabins. They had mentioned some of these cabins just completely demolished.
Yeah.
You know, just thinking about these buildings here that people would go to spend time at. It's so hard to hear, but speaking of the process still, they had mentioned 200 firefighters active on the ground. And that percentage, we're looking at 20% of them are actively firefighting. The rest of them are actually out doing the searches, trying to recover whatever they can out
So it's
there.
recovery and fighting fires. They did say that they have had a lot of pet owners calling in to find out what they can do to either turn in these pets that they found or find their pet that they left at their home. Go to the Sevier County Humane Society webpage to locate your animals or to let them know that you have taken an animal in. That is where all of that is coming out of, the Sevier County Humane Society. Again, the park superintendent says don't let the rain yesterday give you a false sense of security, because there are still hot spots out there. In total, 17,000 acres have burned, and 11,000 of those inside the forest.
Yeah. Well, we're going to continue to keep you updated in the next few minutes. That's just an update from what we're seeing at the press conference. They're holding another press conference at 4 o'clock today with more information.
Yeah, and before we go, you were actually able to go to one of the schools where they were doing some counseling.
Yes, I do want to mention that as we are getting into the week, there's a lot of people that are going to be going through the healing process. And so Gatlinburg Pittman High School, which is very close to us, right down the street, they actually are holding counseling for the parents, for the students, grief counseling. They've also had the teachers here trying to help them through how they're going to talk to their students next week as they come back to school. They don't know how many of their students have actually been impacted, but many of them do live in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
So they are expecting to just have heavy hearts, heartbreak here, but they do want this to be a place of healing and a place of strength. And so today that's going to be for the parents, for the students, for the faculty to come together and to kind of just talk through what they're going through.
And so many of them are just so scared because they don't have their homes and they don't have a job anymore. But one good thing is Dolly came forward and said for the next 6 months she is going to give $1,000 to every family who has lost a home. And all of those details were going to be released tomorrow. But that is great news, just to know that you're going to have some cash to live on. $1,000 a month, and that's a lot for these people.
Just amazing to see what the community is doing out here day after day. It just keeps pouring in the love and support. So we'll be back in just a little bit with some more updates. And we are reporting live in Gatlinburg. Danny Ruberti.
And Lauren Davis, we're going to send it back to you in the studio.
All right, and we do remind you, we do have more details about that press conference, everything that was talked about on locally now.com.